What if I told you that everything you think you know about good and evil is probably wrong? Today we're diving into a really wild idea from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, the thought that maybe, just maybe, humanity actually needs its dark side to survive.
So let's just put it right out there. Is what we call evil actually necessary for us to survive as a species? I mean, it's a huge question, right? But it's the one that sits right at the very core of what Nietzsche was getting at.
You know, from the time we're kids, we're told this simple story: good versus evil. It's this clear-cut battle. You pick the good side, you fight the bad side. It's simple. Well, get ready, because Nietzsche is about to come along and just completely shatter that entire picture. All right, so how does he even get to such a shocking conclusion? Here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with what he calls the myth of evil. Then we'll look at these two types of people he identified: preservers and innovators. After that, we'll get into the surprising danger of perfect peace, see how this whole dynamic has been the engine of history, and then wrap it all up with his idea of a masterpiece of preservation.
Okay, first up, the myth of evil. And trust me, this is where Nietzsche takes everything we think we know and flips it right on its head.
So here's the core of his argument, and it is a big one. He says that all those things we label as evil, envy, hatred, the lust for power, they aren't some kind of moral mistake. Nope. He says they're actually a biological necessity. They are just as essential for keeping our species going as all the good stuff. Okay, so how does that actually work in practice? Well, Nietzsche breaks it down by looking at two key roles that these instincts create in any society.
So Nietzsche saw humanity as being pushed and pulled by these two fundamental forces. On one side, you've got the good man, the preserver. These are the people who value safety, stability, keeping things just the way they are. They're tending the garden. Then you have the so-called evil man, the innovator. This is the one who comes in and stirs things up, creates challenges, and forces everyone else to adapt and get stronger. They're not just tending the garden, they're planting these new, wild, and sometimes scary seeds.
And this is where it gets really mind-bending. Nietzsche basically says the most harmful individuals are often the very ones who plant the seeds for future growth. Just think about that. The people we see as troublemakers, as disruptors, they're actually the ones pushing us forward, making us stronger in the long run.
This brings up a pretty scary thought, though. What if the moralists win? What if we actually manage to get rid of all the evil in the world? What would happen then?
Seriously, just pause and think about it. What if we could wave a magic wand and get rid of every single one of our darker impulses? What would that world actually feel like?
Well, Nietzsche's answer is pretty terrifying. He believed a world without those aggressive, challenging drives would just stagnate. It would decay. We'd become a species of, cosmic couch potatoes, just getting softer and softer until we couldn't handle any real challenges. And eventually, we'd just die out.
Yeah, you heard that right. He said, a perfectly peaceful society is actually a recipe for species-wide extinction. The very utopia we think we're striving for would, in his view, be the end of us all.
And this analogy of the tree is just perfect for explaining his idea. Trying to cut away all the wickedness is like severing the roots of a giant tree. You might get rid of the messy, ugly parts underground, but you're also cutting off the very source of power that allows the beautiful branches, our culture, our intellect, our art, to grow.
And look, for Nietzsche, this wasn't just some abstract philosophical theory. He saw this dynamic playing out over and over again as the very engine driving all of human history. He identified this incredible cycle. It goes something like this. First, some wicked new idea or instinct pops up and challenges how things are. Naturally, everyone condemns it. It's scary, it's different. But eventually, the sheer energy of it breaks through the old walls. And then slowly but surely, that old evil thing starts to get integrated and it becomes the new good. And you can see this everywhere if you look. Almost every major leap forward, whether it's democracy or a huge scientific discovery, was considered dangerous, even wicked when it first appeared. Why? Because it threatened the comfortable way things were. Progress, in a way, is always a rebellion against the good of today.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. Let's look at the brand new framework Nietzsche offers us for understanding this whole good and evil thing. The absolute key here is a massive shift in perspective. You have to stop thinking about individual sins or a single person's actions.
Nietzsche's zooming way out, taking this giant bird's-eye view of history. He's not asking, is this action good or bad? He's asking, does this trait help the whole species survive in the long run?
See, here's the bottom line. Good and evil aren't fighting a war against each other. They're not even opposites. They're really just two sides of the exact same coin, the coin of survival. The good side gives us stability. The evil side provides the raw energy for change. And we absolutely need both to keep going. It's not a battle. It's a partnership, a kind of biological tag team working to keep humanity going.
So, when you look at it this way through Nietzsche's eyes, evil is not a mistake.
It's a masterpiece of preservation. It's a fundamental, even beautiful part of nature's design to make sure we never get too comfortable, to make sure we keep adapting, keep evolving, and ultimately, keep surviving.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If Nietzsche's right and our darker impulses are what actually drive progress, what should we really be more afraid of? The chaos and discomfort of disruption, or the slow, quiet, comfortable death of stagnation?